Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. It's Friday, and I start to a very busy period for Manchester United. On today's show, we've got Erik ten Hag's press conference to discuss. Marcus Rashford has been named as Premier League Player of the Month for September. A double whammy as well, because Erik ten Hag is a Manager of the Month as well. And we've got some injury updates on Anthony Martial and Harry Maguire. Joining me on the show today, we've got Dan. How are you feeling, Dan? You feeling much better?
Yeah, feeling much better. Weekend starting up and almost weekend starting up with a derby game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can't wait for it. Lots to dive into, as always. So please subscribe to the channel and smash a like on the video. Our next target is 700 subscribers. So let's see if we can reach that together. I'm going to start off with Erik ten Hag's press conference for the Manchester derby. Some big quotes coming out of this one, so hold on to your hats. And let's dive into it together. So he started off answering a couple of questions about the club captain, Harry Maguire. And he said, I have to coach him and back him. I back him because I believe in him. I can see his qualities. Quality is there, almost 50 caps for England. He has a high potential. Then it is about him, and we all believe in him. He says he is doing quite well, but there is always room for improvement. If he believes in his own skills, he'll be back, and I am convinced of that. His abilities are really high. So some really, really strong words on Harry Maguire there. Two things really that stand out for me from both of them quotes. The first thing was 50 caps for England, and his abilities are really high. So there's 2 points I want to make on that. First point, the 50 caps for England. Straight away, as soon as I thought of that, I thought, well, the likes of Theo Walcott has got 50 caps for England. Does that mean anything really? Like, yeah, it's okay. He's done relatively well, but look where Theo Walcott is now in his career. This international comparison has to stop for me, because it's different gravy when you're playing in the Premier League week in, week out, especially if you're the Manchester United captain. Most of the time when you're playing for England anyway, you're playing in teams like San Marino, you're playing Albania, very low-ranked teams, and you're surrounded by the quality as well in the England setup, which you've got world-class players in that team anyway. So there's no hiding with it in the Prem. And yeah, I never like the international narrative. You always hear a lot of pundits do it on TalkSport, Sky Sports, all these kind of things, where they're like, "Oh, well, he does well for his country," and does well. I've seen many like low-level talented players play extremely well for the country, so I don't really buy into that narrative. But Dan, just on Harry Maguire, do you have any faith at all that he can get back into this team?
I'm still having a thought that Harry Maguire may find it a bit difficult to get into the team because Martinez and Varane are performing at the high level, and they have been performing it for so many years. Varane is a top class. It's very hard for him to be replaced until or unless he gets injured. On the same note of Martinez, we have seen he is almost at his like 30% of his career, and he has already established himself. And it's going to take a much lot from Maguire to replace both of them. But at the same time, yes, we can use Maguire because going into the season, we have a lot of games to play, like 3 games a week. At that time, we may have to use our bench players to give some time for the first teamers to get some recovery time. So yeah, Maguire has to improve himself. He has to prove himself on the pitch rather than finding someone, or rather than anyone else fighting for him on the mic. I want Maguire to prove himself on the pitch and speak on the pitch rather than speaking on the mic or speaking off the pitch. And at the same time, I get the narrative of Maguire. He needs the protection at this moment because the negativity has been a lot at this recent days. But at the same time, I still feel that some of the managers are also responsible for that negativity, because you know that a player is not performing well, and you still continue to believe that the player is performing well, and you try to show the fans that yes, he is still performing well. But the fans are intelligent enough to see that what it's going on the pitch, and they know that he's not at his good form. So when manager keeps playing a player who is not in the form, and the fans are not happy with that, then that's going to take a negative hit on Maguire rather than on the managers. So that was the same thing with Ole when Bai gave some good performance, and he didn't get the chance when Maguire was not performing good. At the same time, now we have a manager like Ten Hag. I'm happy that he is giving chances to those who are proving themselves on the pitch, and that's where I stand on Maguire thing. I don't like the negativity about that, but at the same time, I understand why fans are feeling so negative about the performance. And on Maguire side, I think that Maguire has to prove that on the pitch.
Yeah, if I was to use an analogy for that, Dan, if you think of like a cocktail, right, a mixture of loads of different alcohols and stuff, and you think of like the worst cocktail, like for me personally, it's like a martini or something, like a dry martini. I'm really not a fan of it. It tastes like shit. And it's got to this stage now where Maguire's kind of a bit of a cocktail. He's had different elements as to why he's got to this point now. One of the elements maybe being that Southgate's overplayed him. He's put him in the firing line. He's not took him out like Eric Ten Hag has and just put him to the side and said, look, focus on your own game, improve. Another element could be that the fact that when Ralph Ragnick kept playing him as well, like there's so many different things that can add to this. The fact that he's captain, he's got an £80 million price tag put on his head, which brings, as it would with anyone, it brings his own pressure. People instantly saying, oh, well, if he's more than Van Dijk, he has to be better than Van Dijk, and them kind of narratives and stuff. So I just think it's been like a drop of every ingredient, and we've got to this point now with Maguire where it's like almost breaking point, and it's not the best tasting cocktail. So you need to go back to the drawing board, reintroduce some different ingredients, look at your game, focus on your game, and improve. And stop talking to the media about, well, it's his fault and De Gea's done this and he's done that. Like, focus on yourself and take it from there. The manager also commented on his abilities. He said he's convinced on his abilities. They're really high. For me, is he on about specific abilities there? He's good in the air, good on the ball. They're the only two things I can think of because, yes, he is good in them areas. He excels in them areas aerially and is passing on the ball. But if you look at his mobility, reactions, reading of the game, leadership, pace, and the fact that he's completely error prone, I think, if you're just weighing it up on scales, the scales would be like that, wouldn't it? Because they just completely outweigh him. And I'm not convinced Harry Maguire will work in that Ten Hag system because a lot of the negative things that I've just mentioned there, you cannot improve on. It's physically impossible. Things like mobility, pace, awareness, maybe. He's 29 years old. Like, do you think Ten Hag's probably just giving a political answer there?
Yeah, I think he has given the answer what board would have given the answers to. And at this moment, everyone is supporting Maguire, and Ten Hag cannot speak the truth at this moment, but he has to support Maguire from the political view of it. Yeah, but at the same time, I also get what Maguire is facing through these days. But at the same time, in the Ten Hag system, as you also mentioned, that fitting Maguire in the Ten Hag system is going to be a very difficult task because then Eric Ten Hag is trying to build a team with a defense which can play a bit more high line, and with Maguire in the team, we cannot play high line. And at this moment, Martinez is playing a bit like an attacking role in that defense line, comparing with Varane, and Varane is sitting a bit deep. Maguire is suitable for sitting deep, but then it comes like when you compare Varane and Maguire, who is the best, who is performing better? Then it's Varane. But it's going to be a tough task for Maguire to come into the team again.
Absolutely. Moving on to a couple more quotes. He spoke about the upcoming Manchester derby, which we're obviously excited for. He says, I approach this by looking at ourselves. United, we want to win every game. The aim for Sunday is nothing else. We have to do our best. And of course, a good plan and the execution. I have played many derbies. I know what they are, what the rivalry is, what they do with each other. I know it's the most important game in the Manchester area. It excites me. You do everything to win that game. We are convinced of our capabilities. If we act as a team, then we can beat our opponents. That is the belief we need, and we need it even more on Sunday. It certainly seems like there's a lot of confidence going into this one, and why wouldn't you? We've won 4 on the bounce in the league. Man City kind of play to our strengths, where we can hurt them on the counter-attack. That's if set players are involved, which we're going to touch on a little bit later. The reason why I say that, Dan, is because if you remember the Arsenal game, our last game, which was almost a month ago, which is just crazy. Arteta sets up in a similar kind of style to Pep Guardiola. Obviously, he worked under Pep, didn't he? Pep was basically his boss. You look at that possession-based, continuous attacking patterns, triangles, using specific angles to get in behind, overloads. We know the script, what we're going to get with Man City. And Ten Hag's had 2 weeks to work on this. He's even worked under Pep himself. Eric Ten Hag worked under Pep at Bayern Munich, so he will know his style down to a T, and he will know certain weapons to use to affect him. He's already schooled Klopp and Arteta, who are considered to be very good coaching in this league. So I personally am fully confident we can put up a good fight on Sunday. But I just want to get your thoughts on that and where your head's at with it.
Yeah, I think Eric Ten Hag has done a great job to turn this team into a team which is now growing in the fighting abilities. Earlier, we used to be like not, even though we won some games, but still we were not dominant in those games. But in the recent four games, we have seen that we have been more dominant in the game in going into the games. And this particular game, talking about Manchester City game, I think, but still we have to be careful because of the way they control the game, because we know still Ten Hag has not built to that level where we can dominate the games against City. So I think still we have to be a bit cautious with our attack, and our prime weapon would be to play on the counter attack rather than keeping the ball. I don't think City will let us keep the ball, but I like the confidence of Ten Hag when he was asked about the derby, about his thoughts about derby, and he mentioned that he has already played a lot of derbies and he has the experience and he's feeling excited. So that's a really plus for us as well. So yeah, for the season, it's our first big test for this season. Even though Arsenal was a bit one, but this is a real challenge for us. If we beat City, then you know that Eric Ten Hag is on the wheels.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to explode that. And if he beats Man City like 2-0, 3-0, 2-1, whatever, like even get a result there, like it will blow up in the media and it'll catch everybody's attention. In relation to the feel of a derby, because he touched on that as well, like obviously he's been involved in them as a player and as a coach. We know what kind of games they produce a derby, but for my personal opinion, I don't think it's similar to Liverpool. Like it seems to be more bite and edginess in the Liverpool game, if you know what I mean. He's already experienced that game, of course, as I mentioned before. He's outschooled Klopp. We beat Liverpool at Old Trafford, so he's got the feel for that kind of edginess, bite, like the tension in the stadium. And like you said, with the player and coach, he's done it before as well. So he is well versed and well experienced. And going into this, at the minute right now, there's no other manager I'd rather have. I think he's doing really well. And obviously, you got manager of the month, which we're going to touch on in a second. But just as an international fan, Dan, what is your perspective for Manchester derbies? How do you feel about the game itself?
Personally, if you ask me, I am more excited compared to Liverpool game because I am from the generation where it was between United and City. So I started watching football, I think around 2006 or 7. So where City were not this much, they were like a mid table when a player called Ireland was there, and in one of the games he was hit by
Stephen
a coin.
Ireland.
Yeah, so I'm from that era. So for me, this Manchester derby is more important than the Liverpool game. I understand the rivalry between Liverpool, but for me personally, this is more interesting for me, and I can even take a bad result against Liverpool, but I cannot take the bad result against City. So that's how I am in this case. But yeah, one of the thing that reminds me when it comes to derby is that overhead kick, or you call it as bicycle kick by Rooney. So that was one of my favorite memorable moment. And also the moment when we lost the season by 1 point, is it at the last moment when Maguire scored. So I literally cried at that day. But so that was how my opinion is about the derby thing. But I really want us to win this game because the hype is more for City, even though Haaland is there and many other players are there. But I want to really beat this team. And today I read about an article about I think Carragher. He's mentioning saying that Martinez should stay away from Haaland. But I see this opposite way. Haaland should stay away from Martinez because the way the form he is in, Haaland will have to be very cautious about him.
I think that is going to be one of the battles in it.
Yeah,
Obviously, we've got the preview tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that as well, guys. Anyone who's watching now or watching later on, there will be a preview at 6:30. Tune in for that. But just as a quick little glimpse, Lisandro Martinez versus Haaland, he obviously pocketed him and bodied him in the Champions League
exactly.
when it was
Yeah,
Ajax versus Dortmund. So he's already got his number. Haaland has something to prove against him. And look, I might absolutely eat these words because Erling Haaland is in ridiculous form. He's got like 11 goals already. It's unreal what he's doing for Man City. And it was everyone kind of knew what was going to happen when he went in there. It was just instant success, what everyone was expecting. But I think Lisandro Martinez will give him a tough game on Sunday. Sorry, and yeah. Where was we at? Oh yeah, sorry. Manager of the month was the next thing I wanted to touch on. Erik ten Hag's only the second Manchester United manager to win the Premier League Manager of the Month award since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. He spoke about receiving his first Premier League Manager of the Month award, and he said, "What we achieved and we did together," it says, "we are in the right direction. There is a lot of space for improvement. We have to." It says we are in the right direction, but we have to work harder. And, Ten Hag is pushing and pushing every single day to get every ounce of performance out of these players. And that, for me, Dan, is the sign of a top-class coach. I have no doubts that there will be bumps along the way. We'll probably, get some injuries to key players. We'll face opposition who will have our number at some point. But the main point for me is progression. This is a transition phase. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And we've certainly started the marathon off very well. So long may it continue, and long live Ten Hag, because he has made some massive calls since he's been here. Dropping the likes of Harry Maguire, dropping Cristiano Ronaldo, bringing in players, demanding players for big fees, Casemiro, Antony, because he wanted them. Well, Casemiro's questionable because
keeping Casemiro on the bench. So that's also
yeah. That's another. It's a massive decision.
How
because
if you said that United fans.
Yeah, he's keeping you on the bench. Exactly. It's a massive. He's making big calls, playing Rashford as a number 9. Like, he's doing what every fan wouldn't have wanted, but it's working at the minute. He's playing McTominay over Casemiro. He's playing Rashford as a 9 over Ronaldo. He's dropping Maguire. Like, he's making huge decisions which previous coaches never did, and he could get extremely scrutinised for if he didn't win them games. But he has done it, and he's won it. My complete faith and trust is in Ten Hag at the minute. Let's see how we get, what results we get over this kind of busy period, this next kind of 8 weeks or so. But yeah, just talk to me about Ten Hag, Dan. Have you been impressed with him so far?
Yeah, really. The first 2 games, actually, he was like at the first 2 games, he was analyzing the things, how it works, and which player is performing how. And but at the starting itself, it was becoming a bit negative with Ten Hag when he lost 2 games. But then he took hard decisions and dropping Ronaldo and dropping Maguire, and took some key decisions and brought in the players. And I'm happy that the players, it's almost like first time I'm seeing that the United, when they bought 4 to 5 players, I think 5 players, but if we leave out goalkeeper, the other 4 players are in our starting lineup. And I have not seen that when we have bought on-field players and they all started. That's how the manager is spot on with his transfers. And talking about his his manager of the month, it was first. When you read the first line, it's so depressing that after Sir Alex Ferguson, now he's winning. But I think I'm not sure if Oli has won once. When he continuously won some games. And I think Bruno Fernandes came into the team. It was that time. So that's what our condition is, and that's how our manager condition was in the last 1 decade. And now it's good that Ten Hag has brought in that confidence on the manager. So it's been a long that we had a confidence on the manager after Sir Alex Ferguson. So it's been a great time for the past, at least for past 4 matches. But at the same time, I will not go negative on Ten Hag, even if he drops points against City or big teams. So the first transition I want is that we should be going into the games against the mid-table teams or the lower position teams, and we should be winning those games. First of all, we should be winning the games who are the teams which are below 6th ranking. So that's what City and Liverpool does whenever they perform well in the season. So they win all those games which are winnable, and then they try to pull out some points against the great big teams. So that's how our team should perform. That's where we lost the last season as well, when we had a run of 13 games of easy games, but we still, on those 13 games itself, we lost, I think, 4 to 5 games. So that's where the season is defined, and I want Ten Hag to first the transition should come in this position where we should be winning all the winnable games. Then against the big teams, we should try to pull out a couple of points and then become a big team.
Absolutely, I fully agree with that. And yeah, I was super impressed with Ten Hag mainly in the big games. So when we played Arsenal and when we played Liverpool, there was noticeable things that he did in them games, tactical changes that he made, which we didn't see from previous coaches in them massive games, and it paid off. We ended up winning the games because of that. When we was playing Arsenal made 3 subs. I think they took off the wing backs and brought on a few more attackers, which left. You could see there was space in the channels in behind, and 2 of our goals came from that, from the little adjustments that Ten Hag made as well. So and that was from Marcus Rashford running in behind, and he did the same thing against Liverpool. So I can see a similar pattern coming on. I keep saying tomorrow. Coming on Sunday when we play Man City, I think a similar thing is going to happen. And maybe Pep will do something to try and negate that, but I think he'll have a lot of weapons at his disposal on Sunday, and Marcus Rashford being one of them. That is a player who I want to touch on next, Dan. He's got actually. It's funny you mentioned Oli before.
On the last topic, I would like to add one point is that Ten Hag, we can see with Ten Hag, he's making the in-game tactical decisions quite well, and that was missing in the last managers. Like whenever we had nothing to do and we had no idea what to do about the game, we play the same mode for the entire game. But now with Ten Hag, we have seen that when we are not creating chances or we are not defending properly, he make those decisions, tactical decisions, and shift the gear, and accordingly, that's one of the positive that Ten Hag has brought into the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, Marcus Rashford being one of them massive decisions as a number 9. I want to touch on him, Dan, because he's received Premier League Player of the Month for the 2nd time in his career. And as you mentioned before, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the only other manager post Fergie to get a Manager of the Month for the Premier League. And it was actually the same time a similar time when Marcus Rashford got it as well. So both of them 2nd time in the career. A 24-year-old topped a 6-man shortlist that included Philip Billing, Kevin De Bruyne, Højbjerg with Tottenham, Alex Iwobi and Jacob Ramsey. He claims the prize after being involved in all 4 of his side's goals in the wins over Leicester City and Arsenal that extend their winning run. Rashford back from the dead, and here's a couple of quotes from the man himself. So, Rashford has said, "It's still fairly new with the manager and we've got much better at doing the things he wants us to, but there are still a lot of steps to take and we're all looking forward to doing that together." Just on that quote specifically, Dan, it certainly seems Ten Hag is drilling that team spirit into the players. All I keep hearing from interviews and from even with Ten Hag himself is saying us together. Just that kind of just instilling the values that dressing room needed and getting rid of them kind of egotistical webs within that dressing room. He's clearly set out a blueprint to get back to the top by playing this kind of proactive football, and you can see the players completely buying into it, unlike the previous coaches.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things I can see even in from the press conference is that when anyone asks about a particular single player, and he suddenly Ten Hag, when he answers, he shifts to a word called EV, and when it comes to Rashford or any individual brilliance, then also he makes that line between becoming a proud and becoming confident. So he just keeps that line as it is and do not praise a particular player so much that the player would feel proud and go off track from his form. So that's one of the good things that we have seen, that he has tried to bring each and everyone together and build it as a team rather than building individuals. He is building a team. So that's a great thing to see, that which was missing in the last couple of seasons, where we were not looking like as a team whenever we were on the pitch. But now we can see that whenever they go on the pitch, we can see a team is going rather than seeing individual brilliance there. And it also is good to see that the players are appreciating each other on the pitch. And we have seen that whenever they do a defending tackle, and they are clapping and they are just puffed up.
Yeah.
So that was missing in the last season. And now whenever you see that Martinez or Varane or Dalot or Malacia making a sliding tackle or winning the ball, then everyone is just cheering up each other and pushing each and everyone. And even though if they make a mistake, then they are cheering each one up. And that was important to this game as well, when you see that there are a lot of leaders on the pitch. When you see players like Martinez, Varane, De Gea, and Bruno Fernandes, Eriksen, the players like these are acting as a leaders in the team and cheering the other young players. So that's a positive for us as a team, and that will really help us in the future as well.
Yeah, them players that you touched on then, Lissandro Martinez, Varane, even Dalot now, Malacia, the push that togetherness, don't they? You saw him when he was celebrating tackles at the back.
Yeah.
You'd never seen that before. I hadn't seen that in years. I mean, you see it from like Italy when they play in the World Cup, or like Chiellini, the old school guys, and Bonucci celebrating when they make a big tackle, because they should celebrate it because it's worth as much as a goal. If you defend it off the line or you do a big clearance, I agree, it should be celebrated, and I think that can only improve momentum, improve togetherness in the team, and inspire confidence. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Bringing it slightly back to Marcus Rashford, Dan, I thought playing Rashford as a number 9 multiple times as well, not just once. Ten Hag's done it multiple times. It's very interesting. Every time I saw him as a striker, especially under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I never liked it. I felt like he was a one-trick pony. And he couldn't play with his back to goal. He couldn't link up play. He looked very frustrated in that role. And now, I may be in the minority on this, but I have seen flashes that Rashford can do little bits of link up play, can play with his back to goal sometimes. And he isn't a finished article by any stretch of the imagination. He needs to adapt more. He needs to improve on specific things. But I think Ten Hag can bring Rashford back to his best. And that's an exciting thought. Because look, we have a slight bias in Manchester because Rashford is from Manchester. He lives not too far from where I am now. You tend to have a little bit of bias with him, and I admit that. I hold my hands up. I have done. You want someone who's from your kind of things, to succeed, especially where he's come from, the struggles that he's had, and naturally you kind of side with him a little bit more. So, like I said, improved movement, impressive hold-up play, top-class conversion rate, an excellent work rate off the ball as well. He is transforming under Erik Ten Hag, in my personal opinion. But where do you see the future for Marcus Rashford in that attacking line, and how would you use him if you was his manager?
Yeah, with the Rashford thing, even I was not convinced enough that we can play him as a number 9 or a straight forward or a striker. But with this season, we have seen that he has played on that role and he has performed well. And with Martial, I think I've always thought that he has the potential. And at one of the season, we were even comparing him with Mbappe. So we have seen the level of Rashford, that to what level he can perform. But it's again in the last season, especially one of the areas where he was struggling was, and we have a lot of time we have discussed about this aspect of Rashford, is that his decision making has been a poor thing, and which has costed him his form or the level or the stature where he was. And it's like just 1 second decision that can make you a man of the match and a flop of the match. And we have seen that whenever he was in a good situation where he can pass the ball to a player who can really score a goal, and instead of passing, he just tries himself. So these are the small, not small but bigger decisions he has to improve in this game. But we are seeing that it is improving. His decision making has been improving in these games, and he is giving more passes to the to other players who are in good positions. And but still, I can see still he is making those decisions wrong. But we cannot expect a player to change his aspect of this game within one night. But it's like a slow process. But yeah, we can see that he is improving. And for the future, I definitely want Rashford to stay in United, because he's a United guy, and he loves United. So that's not there's no two answers for this. And we know that the love for United is always there in Rashford, and we want him to stay here. But now I think we have to see whether he plays as a winger role or a striker role. So playing on the winger, I think it's going to be a tough because Sancho and Anthony will establish themselves in the coming future. Then you have to take decision on Rashford. So I think, but at this moment, it seems like Rashford is our striker.
Yeah, in the moment you touched on then where he was in a position against Arsenal where Anthony got his first goal, and usually he'd make the wrong decision, he'd lose the ball, he'd have a shot that'd probably go in Rose head. He actually touched on that. That was one of his quotes when he was speaking to the Premier League about winning the award. And he says, "My favourite moment of September was an assist, actually. Anthony's first goal on his debut is a massive moment and it gives us strength and courage. And seeing him come into the team and score right away, it's massively important." Um, to be fair, Marcus has never really been a concern for me personally as not being a team player. I just think he makes silly decisions at times. I've always genuinely believes he loves the club and he'd do whatever it takes to get back to the top. I remember his interview after the Europa League, and he was like, "I can take you in there now and show you 6, 7 players that have played through injury, including myself." Like you can tell he loves the club and he would do anything for the club. It's just on the pitch sometimes he makes silly decisions and he lets his emotion get the better of him. And that would show, especially last season. I think last season was probably his worst season at the club. He was absolutely terrible. I'm pretty sure we said on the show that he was out the worst player. Like he got the award for worst player, him alongside Maguire.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think with Marcus Rashford, it's just progression, patience, and he will get there. But when we start to move into them transfer windows down the January market and the summer market, would you still be looking for an extra attacker up top?
Yeah, I still want us to get an attacker because yeah, even also we have discussed in the group that the way Ronaldo is playing, I'm still a bit critical about Ronaldo whether he can come back to his old form.
Are you scared to like maybe criticize and then he might shut you up a bit? You might as soon as you go because you've obviously loved Ronaldo for as long as you can think.
Yeah.
As soon as you go, oh, I don't know, he might be losing it a little bit, and then he scores, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's why I'm just holding up my words there because
Yeah.
I've seen both the Portugal games and I've seen that he's bit struggling to get up to the pace whenever he receives the ball and he looks like a bit slow to make that second touch and then he's robbed and this happened a lot of times and now that's why the Portugal fans are also talking about Ronaldo to be dropped. So that's to that level it has gone up, but I always want Ronaldo to come back and come back with a stunner or something. And he has done this last season when he went, I think, 9 games without scoring a goal. And then again,
yeah, over the December period, wasn't it? He had like a really bad drought.
Yeah, then he suddenly come up with a lot of goals and was then became the top scorer of the club. And he still has it, but now I think his that tenacity has a bit dropped down. I hope it's do something to do with the fitness level and but yeah, getting a striker is a key for us because then after the January we'll have a lot of games, a lot of knockout games to play, and we need a striker. And Rashford, I know that he's performing well at the moment, but still I need at least 4 to 5 games to see whether he can perform at the same level when he's played as a striker. But for a backup role, we still need a striker because Ronaldo won't be here for more than 1 or 2 years. Max, I don't think he'll be here. Still, the doubts are there whether he'll be still here after January. But yeah, definitely we need a striker for the future, and we should get a striker for the future as soon as possible. I'm not sure whether we can get still get Gapco or Sesko because they are already committed to other clubs. So some players like Gapco or Sesko, if we get any other players like them, that would be a great steal for us.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Ten Hag utilises Ronaldo if he does start him against Man City, if he's going to play him or if he goes with a different option. I am super excited for that game. Obviously, it's been a long while. Like I said, we haven't played in the Premier League since the 4th of September, which is almost over a month without watching Manchester United. It's absolutely killer. So I'm super excited. We will have a preview for the game tomorrow from 6:30 with all the lads. So make sure you do not miss that one because it's a massive game. There'll be a variety of opinions. And it'll be interesting to see who the lads think will start, how we go about winning this game from a tactical point of view. Will we win it? Loads of questions to be asked. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Thank you for your company, Dan. Do you have any final thoughts before we head off?
Yeah, let's get the win and show City where they belong.
Love it. Absolutely love it. We'll be live Saturday and Sunday, guys. So make sure you tune in about 6:30 tomorrow for the preview. Maybe a little bit earlier, we'll see. And Sunday, the game is 2:00 kickoff. So we'll be live an hour before that for the team lineup for the Manchester Derby. And it's live. We'll see you tomorrow for the show. Take care, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Peace.
Cheers.